What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 276. We have Israel Adesanya going against Jared Cannonier.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we're back for another full card breakdown and prediction video this week, breaking down an absolute banger of a card. We have 12 fights. We have 2 title fights, Max Holloway, Volkanovski, 3, and then we have the main event, Israel Adesanya, Jared Cannonier. That's going to be a fun fight. And then just pretty much every single fight I'm looking forward to. I think Dricus to Plessis is going to be fun against Brad Tavares. I think under Muniz, Uriah Hall, Jim Miller, Donald Cerrone, Jalin Turner, Brad Riddell, and those are just the prelims there. On the main card, Sean O'Malley, Pedro Munhoz. You have Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira. Cannot wait for that. Should be a very fun card overall. Cannot wait to talk through it, break it down for you guys. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. And it is a pay-per-view, so we are going to be doing the Significant Strike Contest. To enter the contest, first, leave a like on the video. Second, subscribe to the channel. Third, leave down how many significant strikes you think that Jared Cannonier and Israel Adesanya are going to combine for. Winner, whoever's closest gets $25. If there's a tie, the winner goes to who did comment first, so that is the tiebreaker. Other than that, if you have not yet, be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Now's a great time to sign up, especially considering we have 5 cards in July, and including 2 pay-per-view cards, this one, 276, and then 277 at the end of the month as well. The most popular option is that MMA betting option. $10 a month, you get access to my stat model, first notice on all my bets, my betting articles, betting breakdown video, my Hail Mary parlay, access to Discord, my full card breakdown and best bet article where I give my confidence ratings, my picks, my methods, and my best bet for each and every fight. And it's, a lot of stuff on there as well. A lot of stuff behind the scenes that you guys do not see on YouTube. So if you do want to help support, if you do want extra content, be sure to check that out. And other than that, going live on Friday on the MMA Engine YouTube channel for my final thoughts stream after the weigh-ins, and then back here on Saturday for Best Bet with me, Uncle Weezy, Narco Cop, and Eric Betts fight, giving our best bet on each and every fight on the card. And then be sure to follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers as well. So I say we get into it. We have 12 fights to break down, and let us start with the first fight of the night. We have Jessica Rose Clark going against Julija Stoliarenko. We have Jessica Rose Clark, who is 34 years old, 5'5", with a 67-inch reach, 11-7 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Stoliarenko, she is 29 years old, 5'7", with a 69-inch reach, 9-6 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Let's take a look at the odds like we always do, and we see that Jessica Rose Clark opened up, believe it or not, plus 175. She's currently minus 149, and then Stoliarenko opened up minus 205 for some reason, and she is currently plus 129. So I completely agree with the line flip there. I think Jessica Rose Clark should be a favorite here. It's just a fight that you really can't be overly confident. I mean, I think Jessica Rose Clark should be the better striker here, especially defensively. Julija Stoliarenko, somebody that definitely does, block punches with her face, a 44% striking defense. Not much technique with the striking. She just kind of walks forward and throws hard punches. No regards to her own safety. It's just not the prettiest thing in the world, but, she's scrappy, and I think she's going to make it a very scrappy fight. The thing with Stoliarenko, though, is she does win typically by armbar. I think all but one of her wins do come by armbar, an 89% finish rate for Stoliarenko as well. And then we do see that Jessica Rose Clark did get finished in her last fight and by armbar as well. So, I mean, this is a fight where I think Rose Clark's the much better fighter. It's really not even close. It's just Stoliarenko's probably going to get opportunities here, and that's kind of what scares me. Jessica Rose Clark should probably go for takedowns here, kind of implement that Alexis Davis game plan. Alexis Davis went out there and took down Stoliarenko with no problem whatsoever, and Alexis Davis was able to go out there and control Stoliarenko for 9 minutes and 9 seconds. I feel like Jessica Rose Clark, having the wrestling she does, should be able to go out there and take down Stoliarenko, but then she's going to have to play that, to stay safe, stay away from that armbar, stay safe on top for 15 minutes. That kind of scares me. And then even on the feet, I think Jessica Rose Clark is the better striker, but Stoliarenko probably makes us close. So it's a fight where I feel like I'm more confident, and people are really more confident than they should be in Rose Clark, but she should win this fight outside of some fluky type armbar. But yeah, give me Rose Clark to win. I'm going to take her to win by decision. I think she's better everywhere the fight goes. Just avoid the armbar, and she should get it done. All right, next we have Brad Tavares going against Dricus du Plessis. We have Plessis is 28 years old, 6'1", with a 76-inch reach, 16-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Brad Tavares, 6'1", 34 years old, 74-inch reach, 19-6, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and we have another line flip here. We had Dricus, who opened up plus 110. He's now minus 120 favorite. Brad Tavares opened at minus 130. He is now plus 100. And again, I agree with the line flip here. I really like what I see from Dricus. This guy is 16-2, and all 16 of those wins come inside the distance. He's very dangerous anywhere the fight goes. A very good submission game, and then obviously a ton of power, and he's shown that power thus far in the UFC, getting a first-round knockout against Marcus Perez, and then getting a second-round knockout against Trevin Giles. And I think the trend continues here. I think he goes out there, and I think he knocks out Brad Tavares, who's been knocked out 3 times in his career. One thing I will say is, I think du Plessis is not going to be able to get this fight down to the mat. In some fights, especially outside the UFC, he has, and he did do some groundwork against Trevin Giles. But this is a fight where Brad Tavares' takedown defense is very good. Brad Tavares' takedown defense on paper, 79%. It looked really good against Akhmedov and Antonio Carlos Jr. as well. So I don't see du Plessis taking down Brad Tavares. I think this does primarily stay standing. And when it does, I like the power of du Plessis. I think he puts Brad Tavares out here. So give me du Plessis to win. Give me du Plessis to win by first-round knockout. I think he continues that 100% finish rate there. All right, next we have Jessica Eye going against Maycee Barber. We have Maycee Barber, 24 years old, 5'5", with a 65-inch reach, 10-2, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Jessica Eye, 35 years old, 5'6", with a 66-inch reach, 15-10, and 1-4 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and Maycee Barber opened at minus 155. She's currently minus 245. Jessica Eye opened up plus 135 and currently plus 210. And we've seen it a lot the last couple weeks, like these women's MMA fights. We have a big favorite, and the fight plays out very close, and then the underdog ends up winning. I mean, what happened last week with Jinyu Fry, Vanessa Demopoulos, happened the week before with Natalia Silva, and then also there was another fight as well where these fights are just playing out close, and I think this fight plays out close as well, which is terrifying, laying minus 250 on Maycee Barber here. But as far as a pick, I got to go Barber, but I have no interest in betting this fight whatsoever. Barber is going to be 11 years younger. I think that's absolutely significant. I think she's the stronger fighter as well. I think in terms of like the ground game, it's pretty close. I think the striking is pretty close as well. But I do like the youth of Barber. I do think she hits harder as well. I do think she'll be landing the harder shots. And again, I think she'll have success in terms of being in the clinch. But should be close. Should be close. Should be going to decision. The judges as of late, I don't know what they're doing as of late. Like some fights, the judges are scoring damage. Some fights, the judges are scoring control. This fight goes to decision. It's going to be close. Give me Barber just based off of youth. But not a fight I feel like anybody should be confident. But give me Maycee Barber to win. Maycee Barber by decision, but a fight I will not be touching from a betting perspective. All right, I'm looking forward to this fight. Probably one of my favorite prelims on the entire card. We have Andre Muniz going against Uriah Hall. Muniz, 32 years old, 6'1", with a 78-inch reach, 22-4, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Uriah Hall, 37 years old, 6 foot, with a 79.5-inch reach. He is 17-10, and he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So this fight is phenomenal. We have a classic striker versus grappler, about as clear-cut of a striker versus grappler matchup as you can get. And we do see that Muniz is a big favorite. Muniz opened up minus 225. He's now minus 275. Uriah Hall opened up plus 190, and he is currently plus 235. So definitely some wide odds there on Andre Muniz, and I think that's because this guy's been looking phenomenal as of late. He made his debut against Antonio Hoyo. Honestly, not the best look in the world there. Went to like a very greasy decision. Both guys kind of gassed out and very sloppy fight, but he was able to get the job done in a close, weird fight there. And then he gets a first-round finish against Bartosz Fabinski, armbar. First-round finish against Jacare Souza, armbar. Extremely impressive there. Nobody's submitting Jacare Souza, and he went out there and broke his arm in the first round, and then submits Eric Anders as well in the first round. So this is a fight where I'm actually impressed with Muniz quite a bit in terms of the wrestling. He had some concerns about his wrestling and his ability to get it down to the mat, But no, his wrestling's really good. He has good timing on his takedowns. Landed a very nicely timed shot against Eric Anders. Same thing against Jacare Souza. And if he lands one of those against Uriah Hall, he's probably going to get him down. Uriah Hall has 28 fights. He's never been submitted. He's fought very good grapplers such as Antonio Carlos Jr., guys like that. But, I think there is a first for everything, and I think that Andre Muniz does submit Uriah Hall and probably does it in the very first round. I do have my concerns about Andre Muniz. I think the cardio is extremely suspect. I think the chin is extremely suspect. Muniz has been finished in all 4 of his losses. All 4 come by knockout. If this fight does get out of the first round, I think Uriah Hall will be very live to win the fight. I think once Muniz does get him down, Muniz is no joke on the mat. I think he's very dangerous. I think he's going to get Uriah Hall out of there, give Uriah Hall his very first submission win, or very first submission loss. So yeah, give me Andre Muniz to win by first round submission. But yeah, minus 300. It's definitely wide. Like Uriah Hall hits like an absolute truck. Uriah Hall's finished, I think, like near 70% of his wins all by knockout. And again, Muniz has been finished in all 4 of his losses by knockout. But I see Muniz getting us down to the mat, and once it does hit the mat, I think the fight's over shortly after. Again, nobody's going out there and submitting Jacare Souza, and he did that. And he broke the dude's arm. So I think he goes out there and finishes Uriah Hall in the very first round. Should be a phenomenal fight. All right, I'm hoping this fight stays on the card. We've had some problems with the Cerrone, his fight staying on the card as of late. So hopefully this fight happens because it's going to be a really good one. We have Jim Miller, Donald Cerrone. Jim Miller, 38 years old, 5'8", with a 71-inch reach, 34-16, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Cerrone, 39 years old, 6'1", with a 73-inch reach, 36-16, and 0-4-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. That no contest comes against Nico Price in a fight where it was a draw, but Nico Price, I believe, popped for that marijuana. We'll take a look at the odds, and Donald Cerrone goes from being a favorite in his last fight against Joe Lozon to being a pretty decent-sized dog here. Jim Miller opens at minus 155. He's currently minus 210. And Donald Cerrone opens up plus 135. He is currently plus 180. So, yeah, I think it's a tough matchup for Donald Cerrone. I mean, if this fight was a couple years ago, sure, I would pick Donald Cerrone and probably pretty confidently as well. And this is actually a rematch. They did fight before, I want to say back in 2014 or 2015, and Donald Cerrone was able to get into that second round and finish Jim Miller in that second round. But you really can't go back and look at that fight. You really can't look into any of the stats. All you can look at really is just how have these guys looked their last couple fights. Donald Cerrone just looks done. He looks completely washed, and there's a narrative of does he even want to be here? It doesn't look like he wants to be there. I mean, getting finished in the first round against Alex Morono is not a good look whatsoever. On top of that, the guy had to cut weight down to 155 twice in the last month, and then he's cutting weight again. And this fight is at 170, which I do think is going to help Donald Cerrone here. If he cut down to 155 again, that would be like, I don't think this fight would even happen if he did that again, but 170, so it's a little bit better, but still, he already cut weight last week or 2 weeks ago. He's going to have to do it again. And yeah, I mean, who looks more washed? I mean, it's Donald Cerrone. Jim Miller, at the very least, he's going out there and he's beating guys he should be beating, like Nicholas Mata, which I believe is a dog in that fight, and then Eric Gonzalez, the Ghost Pepper. He's beating these guys that aren't the best fighters in the world, but still, he's looking good. He's showing some power, and I think power is a big factor in this fight. I think Donald Cerrone probably gets knocked out in the first round. You take a look at this fight stylistically, and yeah, like I said a couple years ago, and when Donald Cerrone was not completely washed, Donald Cerrone would be the better striker. Donald Cerrone's takedown defense is elite. I think you could get this out of the first round and eventually take over and probably finish Jim Miller, but I just don't think it's the same Donald Cerrone. I really don't. I think he's on his way out. I think this is probably his last fight, and I think Jim Miller goes in there and just starches him in the very first round. When you take a look at Jim Miller's career, he is typically winning in the very first round. It's kind of like a sting, like especially later in his career. He had a first-round submission against Roosevelt Roberts, first-round submission against Clay Guida, first-round submission against Jason Gonzalez, first-round submission against Alex White. Other than that, first-round knockout against Gomi, a first-round submission against Yancy Medeiros, a first-round submission against Camos. Lots of first-round finishes here. Melvin Gillard. Yeah, just a ton. Like Charles Oliveira back in the day as well. So typically it's in the first round, but in his last couple fights, first round or second round finish against Nicholas Mata, that was 1 minute and 58 seconds in the second round, and then 14 seconds into the second round against Eric Gonzalez. So, hey, he showed he can go out there and get in the second round as well. So, yeah, I mean, I like Jim Miller here. I think it's a really tough matchup for Donald Cerrone. I think it's a tougher matchup than the Joe Lozon fight was. I thought Joe Lozon was very live to win the fight. I thought Joe Lozon was going to come out and try to finish Cerrone very early, and I thought it was very live. And I think Jim Miller's going to do the same thing. I think he's going to pressure Cerrone. He's going to be at a big height and reach disadvantage, but I think he's going to land one on the chin and put out Donald Cerrone. And like I said, I think this could be Donald Cerrone's last fight, whereas Jim Miller, he's talking about wanting to fight on UFC 300. So I don't think he's anywhere close to being done, honestly. So give me Jim Miller to win. Jim Miller to win by first round knockout. All right, next we have Ian Garry going against Gabe Green. We have Ian Garry, who is 24 years old, 6'3", with a 74-inch reach, 9-0, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Gabe Green, 29 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach, 11-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and Gabe Green is a dog. Opened up plus 150, is now plus 145. Garry opened up minus 175, is currently minus 170. This is kind of a tough fight to call because I really like what I see from really both guys, honestly. But Ian Garry, I had a big bet on him in his debut against Jordan Williams. Went and watched this guy's fights outside the UFC, and I thought, yeah, this guy's like the total package. I mean, his striking's good, his grappling's good, takedown defense is good, his cardio's good, good finishing ability. I liked everything I saw out of Ian Garry. The one thing I did not like was the striking defense. I think the striking defense is a big problem, and it did show in the Jordan Williams fight. So, yeah, I had this big bet on Ian Garry, and I'm watching the first round against Jordan Williams, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this can't be happening. I mean, this guy's going to lose. This guy's going to get knocked out potentially. Jordan Williams is winning that first round. He's touching up Ian Garry. And then, luckily, Garry was able to land something with like a second left in the first round and knock out Jordan Williams. But I'm kind of curious to see what would have happened if that fight did go on, because Jordan Williams was having a lot of success just marching down Ian Garry, throwing combinations, and Gary's striking defense, like it did outside the UFC, it just wasn't there. His hands are low, his chin's up in the air, he's backing up, and I don't really like to see that. And against Gabe Green, I feel like Gabe Green can kind of have some of the same success that Jordan Williams did. I think Gabe Green is a dog. This guy is very tough in general. He's going to come forward the entire fight, and he's well-rounded as well. He's going to throw a lot of volume. He has a good submission game as well. And I think he's going to come forward. I think he's going to pressure Garry. I think he's going to make Garry feel uncomfortable. And I think he could potentially hurt Garry here. So I get why Gary's the favorite. I mean, there's hype on this guy. He's a really good fighter. But I feel like people are kind of counting out Gabe Green here. I think Gabe Green can make this very close and competitive. One thing I don't like about Gabe Green is he is very hittable in his own right. But again, he's going to be pressuring forward. I think that the pressure is going to make Garry uncomfortable. And I think Green is going to, I'll say, knock out Ian Garry here. Kind of a hot take there. But I'm going to say he, exposes that striking defense of Ian Garry, pressures him, and puts him out here. So I'm going to take Gabe Green to win by knockout. And I also feel like if he gets his fight down to the mat, like his ground game is good as well. So I feel like he has some paths to victory here. Should be a very fun fight. Should be a very competitive fight. I don't see really Garry running away with this one. I think at the very least it's going to be a competitive fight. But I'm going to say Green catches him at some point. I'm going to say Gabe Green does win this fight. I'll say by late knockout. I'll say third round knockout for Gabe Green. All right, next we have the last fight that is on the prelims. And a very good fight. We have Brad Riddell going against Jalin Turner. Cannot wait for this one. We have Jalin Turner, 27 years old, 6'3", with a 75.5-inch reach, 12-5, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Brad Riddell, 30 years old, 5'7", with a 71.5-inch reach, 10-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jalin Turner opened up as a minus 175 favorite. He's now minus 135. Brad Riddell opened up plus 150. He's now plus 115. So, I guess the big thing that sticks out, I mean, there's a couple big things that stick out here, but the first thing is the age. Jalin Turner, this guy's only 27 years old, which is just crazy. So younger here, Jalin Turner. And on top of that, Jalin Turner is going to have a huge height advantage. He's going to have an 8-inch height advantage in this fight. On top of that, he's going to have a 4.5 or a 4-inch reach advantage, and I feel like that could even be a little bit bigger than that. This guy, Jalin Turner, is huge for 155 pounds. Like, this guy's 6'3". It's not often at all you see a 6'3" fighter making lightweight. But Jalin Turner does it, and he looks good, and my goodness, he's going to have a huge size advantage in this fight, and you've got to believe that's definitely going to play a factor. Like, on the feet, technically, Brad Riddell's a very good kickboxer. He's probably technically the better striker, but when you have a freaking 8-inch height advantage, a 4 or 5-inch reach advantage, that kind of goes out the window. Like, Jalin Turner should have the advantage on the feet just because he's going to be much longer and he's going to be much more dangerous as well. Jalin Turner is a guy that it doesn't look like he's hitting hard, but he's putting guys out. He's hurting guys. I like his combinations. I like his volume. He mixes it up to the body, to the head, uses his knees, his elbows. This guy is no joke on the feet, and I think that size is really going to give Brad Riddell a problem. The one thing I don't like about Jalin Turner is his striking defense. He is very, very hittable. A 44% striking defense, which is the same striking defense as Julio Stoliarenko, if that tells you anything. But 44% striking defense, and he has been knocked out in 3 of his 5 losses. So I think if Jalin Turner does lose this fight, it's probably Brad Riddell catching him with something, because I think this is going to be a war. I do think they're going to stand and bang, and I do favor Jalin Turner in this fight as long as he does not get caught. I think he's going to be the one catching Brad Riddell. I think he's going to be the one really hurting Brad Riddell. Jalin Turner, a 100% finish rate, some submissions on his record. He's a brown belt in BJJ, but he has that power as well, knockouts. And Brad Riddell has been knocked out before, and he's also been submitted. So Turner, 100% finish rate. Brad Riddell finished in 100% of his losses. I think that trend kind of continues here. I think Jalin Turner wins this fight and does it inside the distance. But yeah, this is a great fight. Cannot wait for this one. But I really like Jalin Turner. I think size is going to be a factor here, and I think he goes out there and finishes Brad Riddell. I'm going to say he does it in the very first round. All right, main card time. And we have one of these every week. I mean, this is my 1-800-GAMBLER fight of the week, a fight nobody should be betting on, a fight that nobody really should be confident either way. But in terms of the fight, I mean, this is going to be a very fun fight. We have Robbie Lawler, 40 years old, 5'11", with a 74-inch reach, 29-15 and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Bryan Barberena, 33 years old, 6 foot, with a 72-inch reach, 17-8 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. And I feel like this should probably be a straight pick'em here, but it's actually Robbie Lawler who's the favorite. Opened up plus 130 as a dog. He's now minus 120. And then Bryan Barberena opened up minus 150. He's now plus 100. I mean, yeah, who knows? I mean, this is going to be a fight where they're just going to stand and bang. We saw in Robbie Lawler's last fight, which, by the way, was his first win in a long time, against Nick Diaz, who we had not seen fight in years. And it was competitive. It was very competitive in that first and second round. Like, we saw that Nick Diaz went out there and landed, like, I want to get the exact number. It was like 71 significant strikes Nick Diaz landed in the first round against Robbie Lawler. In the second round, he lands 73. And then in the third round, Lawler starts to take over and then catches Diaz with something, and then Diaz doesn't get up. So, I mean, Diaz was having success, and the last time we saw Diaz fight prior to that was back in 2015. And like I said, Robbie Lawler, that was his first win since Donald Cerrone back in 2017, Carlos Khan at 2016. He was on a 4-fight losing streak up until that Diaz fight. But you got Bryan Barberena, who at the same time, like, I've not been impressed with Bryan Barberena. He got knocked out by Vicente Luque. That's fine. He gets knocked out by Randy Brown as a favorite, whatever. But I'm actually more worried about him beating Anthony Ivy, but getting taken down 5 times and not knocking out Anthony Ivy. That was a bad look. And then losing to Jason Witt, not only losing to Jason Witt, but getting knocked down by Jason Witt of all people. That was a bad look. Having a very competitive back and forth fight against Darian Weeks, that was a bad look. And then having a very competitive fight against Matt Brown. I don't know, like, Robbie Lawler's 40 years old. He's taken a ton of damage. He does not look great. And then at the same time, you have Barberena, who's 33 years old. He's taken a ton of damage. He's had a ton of surgeries. He does not look great. But, you know, they're going to stand and bang. And at that point, if I had to pick somebody in this fight, which, again, nobody should be confident in this fight. My goodness, this is a tough one. I'm going to say Bryan Barberena, I guess, but my goodness, like this is tough. Give me the youth of Barberena, 7 years younger. I like the volume of Barberena. And I think he's less washed, I guess, but my goodness, like this is going to be close. It's going to go to decision. Really can go either way. The judges have sucked lately. Who knows what they're going to be watching? Who knows if the judges are even going to be watching the fight? Give me Bryan Barberena as a dog, but I just feel like nobody should be confident in this fight. But as far as like a fan standpoint, watching this as a fan, it's going to be a heck of a fight. But from a betting perspective, I just don't see how anybody should be betting on this fight. All right. We have Pedro Munhoz going against Sean O'Malley. And we have Sean O'Malley, 27 years old, 5'11", with a 72-inch reach, 15-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Pedro Munhoz, he is 35 years old, 5'6", with a 65-inch reach, 19-7, and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and Sean O'Malley, big favorite, opened up -250, -265 currently. Pedro Munhoz opening up +210. He's currently +225, and yeah, I don't know. This is a little bit tougher for me than the line does indicate. We have Sean O'Malley as a very big favorite, but I get it. Sean O'Malley's gonna be much bigger, much younger, 8-inch. He's gonna be 8 years younger. He's going to have a 5-inch height advantage, a 7-inch reach advantage. I think all that is extremely significant. Pedro Munhoz is 35 years old at this point. And on top of that, watching Pedro Munhoz, he's just so hittable. Like, this is a guy that is content to just eat punches with his face, and he can do that. He has the chin to back it up. Absolutely does. He's never been knocked down, never been knocked out. When he's losing by decision. But this guy, Pedro Munhoz, he's absorbing over 6 significant strikes per minute, and Munhoz just is willing to eat a ton of shots. And I just think it's a recipe for disaster against Sean O'Malley, who's going to be much faster. This is Sean O'Malley, who's going to be a much better striker, more tools on the feet, lands over 8 significant strikes per minute. I think O'Malley has all the tools to put on a clinic here against Pedro Munhoz. It's just some things that do scare me on the O'Malley side is first of all, this is going to be a big step up in competition for Sean O'Malley. I mean, he makes his UFC debut against Andrei Sukumtov. Jose Quinones knockout. I don't think Quinones is in the UFC. I don't think Sukumtov is in the UFC. Eddie Wineland just retired. O'Malley knocked him out. He knocked out Thomas Almeida. I don't think Almeida's in the UFC. He knocked out Chris Moutinho. I don't think Moutinho's in the UFC. And he knocked out Rolian Paiva. Paiva's still in the UFC at the very least, but I'm not high on Paiva. And the one time he did take a step up in competition, he knocked out in the first round by Marlon Vera. So that's a concern. Like, this is a big step up in competition against Pedro Munhoz, who, yeah, he's 35 years old, maybe towards the end of his career, but, he's losing to Dominic Cruz, Jose Aldo, beating Jimmy Rivera, losing to Frankie Edgar, losing to Aljamain Sterling, beating Cody Garbrandt, beating Brett Johns, beating Rob Font. This guy's no joke. He's very tough, very durable, never been knocked down. And I guess what worries me in this fight for Sean O'Malley is just going to be the calf kicks. I go back and watch that Munhoz fight against Jimmy Rivera, and it's the very first round where Jimmy Rivera is done. I mean, his legs are done for after a couple calf kicks. And Jimmy Rivera was done for the rest of the fight. And Sean O'Malley, the dude's kind of made out of glass. I mean, we saw Sean O'Malley in the Vera fight. I think he might have, hurt his own leg kicking Marlon Vera. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe he stepped on it wrong, but I didn't even see Vera land a ton of calf kicks, maybe a couple in that fight, but Sean O'Malley kind of landed on it wrong and then started limping and then gets finished by Marlon Vera. And even like the Andrei Sukumtov fight, O'Malley hurts his leg really bad in that fight as well. So would it shock anybody if Pedro Munhoz landed like a couple leg kicks and Sean O'Malley was compromised? I mean, not really, but I guess that's my one concern. But O'Malley should win this fight. O'Malley is the much better striker here. Pedro Munhoz, bad striking defense, willing to eat shots. I think O'Malley really puts it on him. And if he's able to avoid those leg kicks, check those kicks, even, I think O'Malley makes this look pretty easy. So I like O'Malley to win. I do have my concerns, though, in terms of laying like -300 just about on this guy. But I think he should win this fight and win it by decision. Pedro Munhoz never been knocked out, never been knocked down. Could that change here? I mean, maybe. maybe because Munhoz is willing to eat a lot of shots, and O'Malley does hit very hard. But again, Pedro Munhoz is not really in Paiva. He's not Chris Moutinho. He's not Thomas Almeida. He's not Eddie Wineland. He's not Jose Quinones. So I'll say O'Malley. O'Malley by decision. Should be a very, very fun fight there. All right, next we have the People's Main Event. This is probably my favorite fight on the entire card. I cannot wait for this one. We have Sean Strickland going against Alex Pereira. We have Pereira, who is 34 years old, 6'4", with an 80-inch reach, 5-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Sean Strickland, 31 years old, 6'1", with a 76-inch reach, 25-3, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Sean Strickland is a dog. Open up -175 favorite. He's now +100. Alex Pereira opened up +150, and he is currently -120. This is a tough fight to call. Another fight where I think it's going to be a phenomenal fight to watch. I cannot wait to watch this fight, but in terms of betting on it, I just can't get there from a betting perspective. I'm going to sit back and enjoy this one because I would like to know Sean Strickland's game plan. If Sean Strickland's game plan is to come out here, take this fight down to the mat, push Pereira up against the cage, I think Sean Strickland can make this look fairly easy. If Sean Strickland's game plan is to go out there, like I kind of think he's going to go out there and, strike with Pereira for 15 minutes, I think he could have some success, but I think that's, going to give Pereira some clear paths to victory there. Pereira, although he only has 6 MMA fights, he has a ton of kickboxing experience, and quite frankly, one of the scariest guys I've ever watched. I went back and watched not only some of his MMA fights, but his kickboxing fights, and he's going out there and he's putting guys out cold. Like, these guys aren't getting up for a couple minutes. It's scary to watch. Like, this guy hits like an absolute truck. Not only that, is he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. He's going to have a 3-inch height advantage. This guy's huge, and his hands are really good. His hands are good. His kicks are good, and he has a ton of power in both. I just have a feeling like Sean Strickland is going to go out there, and he's going to want to test his striking against Alex Pereira. Because if he goes out there and fights smart and gets his fight down to the mat, like we saw Andreas Michailidis go out there and win a round against Alex Pereira, just holding him against the cage, trying to take him down. And yes, Pereira's takedown defense did hold up, but what happens if brown belt Sean Strickland, very underrated grappler, what happens if he gets down Alex Pereira? Like, that submission could be on the table. We can have some top control, but I don't know. I just have a feeling Sean Strickland goes out there and strikes with them. So, tough fight to call. It'd be a lot easier to call if I knew the game plan of Strickland. I'm going to say, just knowing Sean Strickland and just going back and looking at throughout his career, yes, he took down Uriah Hall 4 times, but that was kind of a weird situation where Sean Strickland was hurting Hall bad, and he just kept taking him down instead of finishing him on the feet. That was weird. Other than that, he took down Court McGee 3 times. He took down Alex Garcia. He took down Ponzinibbio back in the day, but as of late, he took down Brennan Allen. That's really about it. So it's not really his game. Should he use it here? Absolutely, but I just have a feeling he's going to go out there and try to outstrike Alex Pereira. If he does that, I think he could get knocked out. So I'm going to take Pereira here to win. I'm going to take him to knock out Sean Strickland. And again, this is a very tough fight to call, but I'm going to say Pereira knocks out Sean Strickland. I'm going to say he does it in the very first round here, but if Sean Strickland fights smart, I think it's a very winnable fight. I just can't count on Sean Strickland to go out there and fight smart. So Alex Pereira, first round knockout. This guy hits like an absolute truck. He's terrifying, and I think he finishes Sean Strickland in the very first round. All right, co-main event. We have Alexander Volkanovski going against Max Holloway, number 3 here. We have Volkanovski, 33 years old, 5'6", with a 71.5-inch reach, 24-1 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Max Holloway, 30 years old, 5'11", with a 69-inch reach, 23-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have the odds here. Volkanovski opened up -155. He's now -200. Max Holloway opened up +135. He's now +170, which is interesting because their second fight was a lot closer than that. The second fight, I had a big bet on Volkanovski, one of my very first max bets, and I kind of thought he lost. I thought Max Holloway was able to win, I think, the first 3 rounds. Last 2 went to Volkanovski, but Holloway was able to drop Volkanovski in the first couple rounds. But it was a close fight regardless, but it was close. It was a very close fight. So this is a fight where It's really hard for me to pick against Volkanovski at this point. This guy's looked unstoppable. He's 33 years old, and he's looked like the best he's ever had. Against Ortega, just put on a clinic, was able to survive those submissions, put on a clinic against the Korean Zombie as well. And this is a fight where I guess it all depends like which Max Holloway shows up. Is it going to be the Max Holloway that went out there and fought Calvin Kattar and put on his career best performance? If that Max Holloway shows up, I think is a really good chance of winning. Is it going to be the Max Holloway that fought Yair Rodriguez that shows up? If that Max shows up, I think Volkanovski kind of makes this look easy. I don't know what happened with Max in that Yair fight, but he did not look right in that fight. It was a lot closer than I really expected. I thought it was a great fight for Max, but it was I don't say it was very close, but it was a lot closer than a lot of people expected there. I like Volkanovski here, 24-1. I think he wins the third fight here, but I just can't be too confident in it because it's hard to be confident against a guy like Max Holloway who's going to throw a ton of volume. But Max is very hittable. I like the movement of Volkanovski. I like the kicks of Volkanovski. I like the fact that he can mix in some takedowns. I don't think he's going to have success with mixing in the takedowns, but just the thought that Max Holloway's going to have to defend some takedowns here. I think Volkanovski can get him down here or there. And again, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. It's going to go to decision. You got to put it in the hands of the judges, which is terrifying as well. But I like Volkanovski here to get the three in a row here against Max Holloway. But it should be a close fight. It should be a fun fight. I thought the first fight was very fun. I thought the second fight was very fun. I think this fight's going to be fun as well. But I'll take Volkanovski to get it done. I'll take Volkanovski to get it done by decision. And then the main event, we have Adesanya, Cannonier. Me and Uncle Weezy did do a deep dive on the main event on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. If you have not checked that out yet, be sure to check that out. Went through the fight from a betting perspective and all the good stuff. But we have Adesanya, Cannonier. Adesanya, 32 years old, 6'4", with an 80-inch reach, 22-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Cannonier, 38 years old, 5'11", with a 77-inch reach, 15-5 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and Adesanya is the biggest favorite on the card. He opened up as a minus 300 favorite. He's now minus 425, and Cannonier opened up plus 250. He's now plus 325, and I get it. I mean, I can't really make a good strong case for Jared Cannonier here outside of him landing a big shot, which I think that's going to be easier said than done. We're in the bigger cage here, which favors Adesanya. I think Adesanya's movement, his height, his reach is going to give him a problem here, and that's interesting to say that Adesanya will have a 5-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage because Cannonier has fought at heavyweight before. He's fought at light heavyweight, but Adesanya is going to be the bigger guy here. Adesanya is going to have the striking advantage. Adesanya is going to be faster. Cannonier kind of the slower fighter, more plotting. What is Cannonier's game plan going to be? Is he going to go out there and just kickbox on the outside with Adesanya for 25 minutes? If he does that, he's going to get picked apart pretty easily. Is he going to go in there and try to rush forward, land a big shot on Adesanya, be kind of reckless? If he does that, he probably gets countered and knocked out. I guess he's not going to go out there and wrestle. I mean, I've seen people say that Cannonier is going to go out there and implement the Jan Blachowicz game plan. I think that's a ridiculous take. That's not Cannonier's game plan. I think he's landed maybe like 4 takedowns maybe in his entire career. And even if he does that, like we saw Robert Whittaker get some takedowns, not able to hold Adesanya down. We saw Marvin Vettori get some takedowns, not able to hold Adesanya down. Jared Cannonier is definitely not going to be able to do that. So, yeah, it's just a tough matchup for Cannonier. I think it's a good spot for Adesanya here. No hot take for me. I think Adesanya just picks apart Cannonier for 25 minutes en route to a decision, maybe find a late finish. I guess it all depends on Cannonier's game plan. If Cannonier rushes in there trying to get the finish in his own right, I think he gets finished. And if he wants to just kind of strike with Adesanya on the outside, I think it just cruises over to a decision. Probably not the most exciting fight in the world. So, Adesanya, I'll say Adesanya by decision. And I think he's a pretty big favorite for a reason there. So, yeah, guys, that is about it. Make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Comment down your significant strikes for the main event. Be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. I do have 3 bets right now. Going to be getting out another bet, just waiting on some lines to come out. I think I'm going to have anywhere from 5 to 6 bets, some prop sprinkles that stick out as well. My full card breakdown and best bet article will be out on Wednesday. And then my betting article will be out later in the week as well. So lots of stuff going on DFSbythenumbers.com. Make sure you guys check out that, especially considering we have 5 fights in the span of 1 month. And yeah, check me out on the MMA Engine on Friday for the live stream, final thoughts, and then back here Saturday for the live stream for the best bet. And then I might even go live on Saturday for like a Q&A on fight day, since it is a big card. I might start doing something like that as well. So check that out as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, so I'm on all the good stuff. Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram, DFS by the numbers. My DMs are always open if you have any questions about anything. And best of luck for UFC 276. Let us make some money, guys. See ya.